Continuing our reading in Ragweed and Poppy by Avi, this episode is Chapter 7 in Dimwood Forest. Ragweed shot through the air in a high arc, only to drop atop a clump of yellow dandelions. That allowed him to land sweet and soft, with nothing more than a sneeze from the dusty pollen that exploded into the air like a golden cloud. Sliding to the ground, he shook his head clear, only to hear one more, but distant yowl from the angry mother raccoon. Ragweed began to run through the woods, not caring the slightest where he was going, as long as he was getting further away from Lotar and his mama. That was good enough for him. "See," he scolded himself, "keep your nose out of other creatures' business." Tired of running, he stopped, sat down, and listened. The forest that surrounded him was altogether quiet. No more snarls from that big raccoon. No more calls from Lotar that he was going to look for him. "They're gone," said Ragweed. "I'm gone. Gone is good." He put a careful paw to his earring, making sure he hadn't lost the purple plastic bead. Relieved to find it still there, he took a deep, satisfying breath and gazed about at the forest. "Well," he whispered, "still must be Dimwood Forest. I made it." The light in the forest was faintly misty. A mass of trees, some with thick, gnarly bark, reached great heights. Higher still were patches of blue sky with wispy, willowy, white clouds. Younger trees, small, slender, and Kelly green, grew closer to ground. As for the earth, it was carpeted by tall grasses and tufted bushes, as well as old brown leaves, which gave a sweet-smelling scent of gentle decay. Amidst fallen branches and logs, a clump of pale blue columbines had grown. Old logs were bearded with green moss and shelves of brown mushrooms. Soft breezes teased the air. All was quiet save the random chirp and peep of invisible birds. "Is this where I belong?" Ragweed whispered in a quiet voice, feeling it wrong to speak loudly. Still, other than knowing the name of the forest, he had not the slightest notion where he was. Realizing he was hungry, he looked about. He noticed a few pine cones on the ground not far from where he sat. He picked one up, peeled back the scales, and plucked out a seed. "Plenty of good food," he said. Ragweed sat there chewing the seed with satisfaction, utterly content with this soft, scheduled world. Secluded world. As he looked about, he reminded himself, "You are totally nowhere. Maybe nowhere is the best place to be. Okay, I've reached Dimwood Forest. Now what? And where?" Since he didn't know where he wanted to go, other than away from the raccoons, he decided to let the wind decide. He plucked a blue petal from a flower and threw it into the air. A gentle breeze floated it off to the right. "Fine," said Ragweed. "I'll go that way." Feeling free and utterly calm, Ragweed ambled along, enjoying the forest. Nice. Extra nice. It didn't seem to matter how far or how long he walked. The wild woods seemed to be the same, even as it ended, endlessly different. Now and again, he paused to eat one of the tasty seeds he found along his way, or to drink some fresh dew that had gathered in a flower. "This is good," he fairly chirped. Softly, he sang the second verse of "A Mouse Will a Roving Go." "A mouse will a roving go, by highways, byways, and long wooded trails, to forests, cities, rain or snow, not bothered by cats or the smallest snails. The world is full of mice, oh! The world is full of mice, oh!" Ragweed continued to walk for some time until unexpectedly he came upon a rutted dirt road. Seeing tire tracks, he stopped. "Uh-oh," he thought, "a human road." He gazed up and down the lane. It looked deserted, nothing passing to worry him, nor were there any troubling sounds. Wondering where the road led, Ragweed moved along its edge, threading his way among the grass. The road made a sharp turn out of the forest and onto a meadow. Ragweed had come to a bright, wide, and rolling field. In contrast to the forest gloom, it was filled with a great array of tall and short grasses, plus low bushes in full leaf. The sky above was blue, with a few drifting clouds. White-bellied swallows dived and swerved, gulping bugs on the fly. Bumblebees lumbered through the air, moving from white flowers to golden ones to golden ones to pink ones. Orange-winged butterflies fluttered lazily by. A grasshopper, its wings rattling and showing a streak of yellow, leaped up only to land a few yards away. Different, but nice, Ragweed said as he continued to follow the dirt road. After moving a little further, Ragweed saw what appeared to be a car. That stopped him. At first glance, the car looked like the ones that his friend Clutch lived in back in Amperville. It only took seconds for him to realize that it wasn't that car. Clutch's car had been a rusty brown with some pieces removed, along with soft wheels that sank halfway into the ground. This car was a shiny blue, new and clean, with fat wheels entirely visible. Besides, Amperville had to be miles away. Still, seeing the car reminded Ragweed a painful pinch of memory. He missed his friends. But most importantly, as far as Ragweed was concerned, a new car meant that people were likely to be near. That could be unsafe. He hesitated. Should I run off or see what's going on? Curiosity won. Ragweed crept forward, making sure to stay clear of the car, all the while watching it intently. He had gone a little further on when he spied, beyond the car, a human nest, a house. That stopped him again. He studied it. The building stood alone in the meadow under the shade of the forest. It was not anything like the human houses he had seen in Amperville. Not only was this one isolated, but it was rather small and made of logs stacked neatly one upon another. Ragweed also noted a few small windows and a door. The door was shut. Ragweed gazed at the house, trying to determine if anyone was inside. Nothing was moving. Then he heard laughter and human voices. No question. People were inside the house. Uh-oh, Ragweed told himself. Snatch yourself some space. Even as Ragweed took a step away, the door to the house opened and 3 humans emerged. The people were of different sizes, a tall one, a small one, and a middle-sized one. Ragweed watched them. Susan, called one of the bigger people. Jump into the car. The small person ran to the car, opened the door, and climbed in. The other 2 followed. Then they too got into the car. There was a loud roar, and a stink filled the air, enough to make Ragweed wiggle his nose. The car rolled backward, then swung about in a half circle. Ragweed sprinted off the road, but stopped and watched. The car proceeded to move slowly down the lane, past Ragweed, and then rolled on into the forest in the opposite direction from the way he had come. It was soon out of sight and sound. Good, Ragweed told himself. They're gone. I don't want anything to do with anyone. Now lift your legs, he muttered, and get away. But he had barely taken one step when he heard a voice crying, Help! Will someone please help me? That's the end of chapter 7.